Okay, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now. Because what happened at that airport? I genuinely cannot stop thinking about it. And I know, that once you hear this, you won't be able to either. You guys. Let me set the scene for you. Mexico City. The air still buzzing. The streets still electric. BTS had just wrapped their concert, one of those nights that you don't just watch, you feel in your chest for days after. Tens of thousands of ARMY had screamed, cried, laughed, and loved together under those lights, and now it was over. The stage was dark. The confetti had settled. But somehow, the magic hadn't left yet. And maybe that's because Jimin was still there. Imagine being at that airport. Just a regular traveler, maybe tired, maybe scrolling your phone, maybe half asleep in one of those uncomfortable plastic seats near the gate. The kind of moment where nothing remarkable is supposed to happen. You're just waiting. Just existing. Just trying to get home. And then he walks in. ParkJimin. In the flesh. At the Mexico City airport. At what we can only imagine was some ungodly hour of the morning, post-concert, post-everything, and yet somehow still looking like he descended from a completely different plane of existence than the rest of us. Can we just talk about this for a second? Because I don't think we give enough credit to what it actually feels like to see someone like Jimin in person, in real life, in a space that isn't a stage, isn't a screen, isn't a carefully edited video. This isn't a performance. This isn't a music video. This is a human being walking through an airport. And somehow, it stops everyone in their tracks. The fan who filmed this, and honestly, bless her, because she gave us something so precious, said she didn't even recognize him at first. Think about that. You're standing there, you look up, and your brain starts doing this slow, terrifying, wonderful process of wait, no. Is that him? And then it clicks. And everything after that is a blur of tears and disbelief and a heart that absolutely does not know how to keep a normal rhythm anymore. She described it later. She said her hands started shaking before she even fully understood why. Her body knew before her mind did. That's what proximity to something truly extraordinary does to you. It bypasses logic. It goes straight to your soul. Honestly, can we talk about that? That reaction, the shaking hands, the tears before the words, the complete emotional collapse in the middle of an airport terminal, that's not just fandom. That's not just being a stan. That is a human being encountering something that has mattered to them so deeply, so profoundly, for so long, and suddenly it's real. It's standing right in front of them with soft eyes and quiet movements and a face that belongs on museum walls. And just when you think the story is already complete, just a sweet moment, a lucky encounter, a tearful sighting, something else happens. He sees her. Okay, wait. I need you to breathe with me for a second, because this is the part that genuinely undoes me every single time I think about it. In the middle of an airport. Surrounded by staff, by movement, by the chaos of travel and schedules and logistics, ParkJimin looks over. And he notices her. Not in a hurried, let's keep moving way. Not in the polished, performer mode, smile and wave kind of way. But genuinely. Quietly. Like he can tell, just from looking at her face, exactly what's happening inside her chest. Because he's done this before, hasn't he? He's been the reason for 1,000 tears in 1,000 different languages across 1,000 different countries. He knows what that face looks like. He knows what it means when someone's eyes fill up that fast, when someone's trying so hard to hold it together and completely failing. And the way he responds to it, soft, calm, grounded, it's like he becomes steadier so that she doesn't have to be. Like he's saying, without saying anything at all, I see you. You're okay. I'm real. This is real. How does he do that? How does he carry all that tenderness with him even in transit, even exhausted, even at the end of a run of shows that would flatten most people? How does he walk through an airport at, 2 in the morning? 3? After performing at that level, and still have the emotional availability to meet someone in their moment? That's not just talent. That's not just charisma. That is something rarer. Something that no amount of training or choreography or vocal coaching can manufacture. That is him. That is just who ParkJimin actually is. And the fan, oh, the fan. She's trying so hard. You can see it in the footage. She's pressing her lips together. She's blinking fast. She's doing every single thing a person does when they are absolutely refusing to cry in public and their body is completely ignoring that request. And then Jimin is close enough that she can actually see him, actually look at his face, and whatever wall she was holding up just dissolves. The tears come. And they come for everything. They come for every late night she spent listening to his music when the world felt too heavy. Every lyric that felt like it was written specifically for the hollow parts of her life. Every time she watched a video on her phone and felt less alone because of the way he performed, not just with his body, but with his entire being. They come for every moment she imagined what it would feel like to be this close and never actually believed it would happen. And now here she is. And here he is. And the world is very small and very large at the same time. But here's the thing, here's what I keep coming back to, it wasn't just the sight of him that broke her open. It was the quality of his presence. Because Jimin doesn't just exist in a room. He fills it differently than other people. There's a softness to him that's almost impossible to describe without sounding like you've lost your mind, but I'm going to try anyway. It's in the way he moves, not hurried, not performative, even when he knows eyes are on him. It's in the way his face rests, open, somehow, like he's not guarding himself the way most people learn to guard themselves when the whole world is always watching. It's in the way he holds eye contact, not the celebrity kind, the practiced, gracious, 2-second kind, but the real kind. The I'm actually looking at you kind. And she felt all of that. In an airport. In the middle of the night. After the concert of her life. Now. I need to tell you about what happened in the hours before this, because context matters. Because the airport moment doesn't exist in isolation. It exists at the end of something. BTS had just finished their Mexico shows. And if you have any idea what a BTS concert in Latin America looks like, the passion, the volume, the sheer force of emotion that comes from those crowds, then you know that these weren't just shows. They were events. They were experiences. They were the kind of nights that get talked about for years. ARMY in Mexico had waited for this. They had waited, and prepared, and counted down, and then given everything they had. And BTS, Jimin, had matched them completely. Had stood on that stage and met all of that love and returned it, amplified, transformed, reflected back in 1,000 different ways through every note and every movement and every moment where the music stopped and he just stood there, breathing, looking out at the sea of purple light. There's a moment in his performances, if you've watched enough of them, and I know you have, where everything else disappears. Where you stop being aware of the production, the staging, the technical elements. Where you forget you're watching something that has been rehearsed and refined. Because it stops looking like a performance and starts looking like truth. Like something he can't help but do. Like music moving through him rather than him moving through music. That happened in Mexico. Over and over again, it happened. And the audience felt it. They always feel it. That's the thing about Jimin, his emotion is contagious not because it's manufactured for effect, but because it's genuine. When he's feeling something up there, you feel it too. Your body doesn't ask permission. It just responds. So by the time the final note rang out, by the time the lights came down and the crowd started filtering toward the exits, every single person in that arena was carrying something enormous. Something tender and overwhelming and hard to name. That particular specific feeling of having witnessed something beautiful and not quite knowing what to do with yourself afterward. And for the fans who had traveled from other countries, for the armies who had saved and planned and flown across oceans just to be in that room for a few hours, leaving was its own kind of grief. That's the word, isn't it? Grief. There's a particular grief that comes at the end of a concert. When the music stops. When the artist you love disappears backstage. When the arena empties and you're back in the ordinary world that doesn't have any of this in it, none of the color, none of the sound, none of the feeling of being surrounded by 10,000 people who love the same thing you love. And then, you go to the airport. You're exhausted. You're emotionally wrung out. You're trying to hold on to the feeling even as you can already feel it starting to fade at the edges. And the airport is the most aggressively unmagical place in the world, and you're standing there under fluorescent lights with your luggage and your boarding pass and the specific low-grade sadness of a journey ending. And he walks in. The person who caused all of it. The person at the center of this whole emotional universe. Right there. In the same ordinary, fluorescent, plastic seat, departure gate world that you're in. And I genuinely think, that's part of why it hits so hard. Because seeing Jimin on stage is one thing. Seeing him larger than life, lit by 1,000 lights, doing something that most humans cannot do, that has its own kind of magic. But seeing him here. In the airport? In the in-between place? In the space that belongs to everyone and no one? That's when the superstar becomes a person. And somehow that makes it more overwhelming, not less. Because it means he's real. Fully, undeniably, three-dimensionally real. He has a flight to catch too. He carries bags too. He moves through the same transitional spaces the rest of us do, the spaces that exist between the extraordinary moments of a life. And he does it with this quiet grace that somehow makes it feel like even the mundane is significant when he's in it. And she's standing there watching all of this happen, watching him exist in this perfectly ordinary way, and every part of her is absolutely coming apart at the seams. Because after all of it, the concert, the music, the hours of emotion, the years of loving this person's work from a distance, this is what does it. Not the stage. Not the lights. This. Just him. Moving through the world. Noticing her. The thing is, and I keep thinking about this, the moment she'll remember isn't going to be the performance. Or maybe it will be both. Maybe they'll be fused together in her memory, inseparable, the stage and the airport, the lights and the fluorescence, the roar of the crowd and the quiet of a 3 a.m. terminal. Maybe that's what makes this kind of love so consuming, it doesn't stay in one place. It follows you. It finds you in airports. It ambushes you in the mundane. And Jimin, who is on his way back to Korea, who has just given everything he has across multiple nights in Mexico, who by every reasonable measure should be in some kind of protective bubble of exhaustion and privacy, he just shows up. Not performing. Not managing. Just existing with enough gentleness that a stranger crying in an airport doesn't feel embarrassed. Feels seen instead. Because that's what he does. That's what he's always done. Through the music, through the performances, through the interviews and the quiet moments shared with ARMY over the years, he makes you feel like you matter. Like your feelings about his art are not just valid but worthy of being witnessed. She wasn't just a fan at an airport to him. And he didn't treat her like one. He was heading home. Korea bound. The tour winding down, the schedule releasing its grip, the long flight back across the world waiting for him. And somewhere in between all of that, in the gap between the end of something enormous and the beginning of the long quiet journey home, he paused. And in that pause, there was everything. There was the exhaustion of someone who pours himself out completely every single time he steps on stage. There was the particular piece of someone who knows exactly what they've just given and is okay with the cost. There was the warmth of someone who hasn't let the size of his life make him smaller inside, who still has the capacity to look at a crying stranger and care. The video spreads. Of course it does. Because ARMY recognizes this specific frequency of feeling. This thing that happens when Jimin and a fan occupy the same space and something quiet and enormous passes between them. People are watching it on their phones in the middle of the night and starting to cry and not fully being able to explain why. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some things don't need to be explained. Maybe it's enough to just feel it, to sit with the image of her face, and his face, and the fluorescent lights, and the departure gates, and the whole improbable miracle of two lives briefly occupying the same moment in the same terminal before one of them boards a plane and disappears across the sky, heading back to the other side of the world. He's going home. And she's standing there, watching the place he just was, the air still carrying some trace of the presence that had moved through it, holding everything inside her chest that has no name yet, that maybe will never have a name, that maybe doesn't need one. And somewhere over the Pacific, a plane is climbing through the dark.